It's time!
What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin Fights. My pal Tom. Tom, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing good. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely.
All right, wonderful. Because on that intro, I'm fairly certain what I heard was we're back for Pickin Fights. So hopefully no one else heard that. It was just me on a glitch on my end, but hopefully people are hearing me and seeing you and hearing you and seeing me, and everything's all good to go.
How do I sound now? Do I sound better?
Sounds good to me.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, you know, we always got to have some sort of technical difficulty to start off the episode. That's how it goes. But that's what keeps it interesting. That's why we go live, because it's organic and fun things happen. But before, please make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube. You like this video, comment something down below. If you heard that pickin' echo, comment down below what you thought the issue might be. If you're like an IT expert or something out there, let us know. Also, check us out on Spotify, Twitter, all that good stuff. It's all down here below somewhere on our screen somewhere. Yeah, right there. So yeah, listen, I wasn't here last week, but I'm almost glad I wasn't, because last week seemed to be a little bit of a rough week, not just for you, Tom, but for practically every handicapper out there on the MMA, Twitter sphere, social space. Everybody had a tough time. What'd you think of the card?
I mean, hey, at the end of the day, who was going to think that Lauren Murphy was going to go out there and piece up Miesha Tate? I did, kind of, and then I allowed kind of other people who were going, no, Miesha Tate, this and that. I allowed other people to get in my head. I hate myself. Same thing with, what was it? A fight earlier with Jack Shore and Ricky Simone, man. Like I went against my gut. Kind of had to get kicked in the balls a little bit to go, hey, listen to your gut. Your gut's what got you here. So, messed up on those. Could have flipped it. That would have had me coming out ahead. But I mean, at the end of the day, Lauren Murphy beating Miesha Tate. It's a terrible look for Miesha Tate. Maybe she needs to hang it up again. I mean, Lauren Murphy's not that good, and she goes out there and, was beating Miesha Tate in a lot of different areas. And then beyond that, Yair Rodriguez going out there and knocking out Brian Ortega in the first round. I mean, there was nothing leading up to that fight that had shown us that Brian Ortega had a problem with his chin, or that it was going to happen. You would have had to be Nostradamus to a certain extent to know, oh, this is the fight where his chin is going to crack. So at the end of the day, you win some, you lose some. I'm 71-ish% on the year. You're right in there too, Keith. We're both, hey, sometimes the handicappers win and sometimes Vegas wins, and we've been winning a lot lately. So looking to get back to our right ways of winning soon here this week.
Oh yeah. And nobody can fault you for that card. Lauren Murphy, I mean, it's funny you brought her up. Andrew Schultz famously called her a diner waitress. Miesha Tate is done, belongs in Bellator, from our friend Infuego. Hey, you might be right, Infuego. You got to see what happened. Yeah, I did. I was out last week.
Birthday siesta.
Man. Yeah, quick siesta. Had to take a leave of absence, but I'm back. I'm not going for good. Don't worry. But, so you mentioned using your gut. This week, we'll see if you rely on your gut a little bit more. Yeah, exactly. Or, a friend of mine always says sometimes you're the statue and sometimes you're the bird.
We've been the bird a lot.
Yeah.
Not
so, let's jump into this card, though, man. I'm super excited about this one. The UFC is back in London again. Return to Arena. I'm pumped. I mean, they know how to put on a good show. Those London fans are awesome. They're always super electric. The crowd is so much fun. So we're going to start off as we do. We changed it from Prelim Walks to Prelim Notables because, sometimes it's just fights that we want to talk about. So I'm going to jump in with my first one. And the odds haven't come out for it yet. So that's what's making it a little bit tougher. Because we are doing this on Sunday, almost a full week before the card is going to be live on pay-per-view. But I'm going with Muhammad Mokaev over Charles Johnson. A bit of an obvious one if you followed, Mokaev's career. He's a newer guy to the UFC. This is a sophomore fight, but he's fighting Charles Johnson, who is making his premiere or his debut in the UFC. And Muhammad Mokaev is one of these guys that they've been talking about for such a long time because he's so young, he's so talented, And I think that this is a boxing style matchup right now where Charles Johnson, a guy that's only ever fought in the LFA or just got done fighting in the LFA, I guess. He's easy pickings for a guy like Mokaev, who is extremely talented. He's been touted for the past couple of years as being an all-around great fighter. He's chasing records. I know he mentioned potentially trying to, beat John Jones as like the youngest UFC champion, but they have to build him up as a character first before, a character, a great fighter, and no better place to do it than in front of hometown fans in London and have him put on a really great performance. It's what they do with a lot of these London fighters, for the London card. I don't know, what would you call them? Like United Kingdom fighters? But
UK fighters.
Yeah, UK fighters. Yeah, sorry, my brain's a little bit broken.
That's siesta,
pretty
man.
banged up from last night. Yeah, pretty banged up from last night. But
loving the shades, by the way.
What'd you say?
Loving the shades, by the way.
Thank you. They're my new pit vipers. But with all that being said, I'm rolling with Muhammad Mokaev. Seems like a really easy, solid pick. Might be a parlay leg for you in there, depending on what those odds are. Could be anywhere from minus 200 to minus 600, depending on what the odds makers are thinking of Charles Johnson. You let me know what you think of that one, Tom.
Yeah, I'm on Best Fight Odds right now, and I see Muhammad Mokaev anywhere between a minus 450 and a minus 520 favorite. Charles Johnson hanging out between plus 350 and plus 380 coming back. So at the end of the day, I think Vegas is right on par with you, thinking that Muhammad Mokaev is going to go in there to the sacrificial lamb that is Charles Johnson. I watched a little bit of Charles Johnson's fights in the LFA. He's a striker. He doesn't have he has solid ground game, but not anything that I would say is like particularly like a standout talent or like a centerpiece of his game, if you will. And I think Muhammad Mokaev is going to go in there and just as versatile as he is, I think he's going to go in there and exploit that. But I also think that he's going to have more power and more speed to be able to get Charles Johnson on the feet either way. So yeah, I like the Muhammad Mokaev pick. That's going to definitely have to be more of a parlay piece for me than doing that straight up. Another one that I like as a parlay piece is going to be Mason Jones taking on Ludovic Klein. This fight was just made recently, and Mason Jones is another one of those guys, UK fighters that the UFC really wants to build up and showcase on this UFC London card. It's starting off the prelims. So, and I forget who I was listening to talk about this, but they're talking about boxing and, boxing, the prelims, like nobody shows up until basically the main event, or maybe one fight before the main event is when they're shuffling in. So MMA is not like that, and definitely UFC in the UK this weekend will not be like that. People will be amped from the very, very first fight, and the UFC is going to want to go out there and start this off with a bang. Start it off with a UK fighter who is going to be surging to the top. He's 11-1. Coming into this fight, he's actually, I think Mason Jones a lot of times is going to be the bigger guy in his fights. At 155 pounds, he is a solid dude. I think he's probably 170, maybe 180 once he gets into the cage. And Ludovic Klein is going to be a little bit smaller in stature. They're going to have the same amount of reach, but I just don't think Ludovic Klein has the power coming back that's going to frustrate or cause a problem for Mason Jones. Ludovic Klein's been on a bit of a slide. He, of course, just picked up a win over Devontae Smith in a split decision. He also has another win over Shane Young via TKO about just under 2 years ago. But in between that time, he's got two losses, one to Mike Trezano in a unanimous decision. Then he got submitted by Nate Landwehr via anaconda choke not too long ago. So definitely has a hole in his game when it comes to grappling. That's what Mason Jones is good at. He can exploit that, but he's also really powerful on the feet. He's got a lot of volume. He throws a ton, especially as it goes later on. And I just think that is going to end up being a problem for Ludovic Klein. Mason Jones going to have the crowd behind him, especially at the O2 Arena, UFC London. So I'm going with Mason Jones here to get the W to start us off on the UFC London card. Back to you, Keith. What do you think?
That's a great pick. I like it a lot. And mainly because I've never been impressed by Ludovic Klein. You can't lose to Nate Landwehr. It's just simple fact. Like if you want to have a career in the UFC, there's certain guys you have to beat. And Nate Landwehr is one of those guys. In terms of Mason Jones, yeah, you mentioned his power and also his ability to exploit the grappling deficiencies that Klein has. So yeah, super great pick with Mason Jones there. I'm rolling with you with that one. I like that pick a lot. I don't have any other prelim, notables. I mean, there's some on here. There's one in particular, actually. Just remembered, Mark Jukhase versus Damir Hadzovic, and I like Mark Jukhase. He's a vet of the game at this point. Really good stand-up fighter. Extremely good on his feet. He's another guy that if you want to have a career in the UFC, you have to beat him at some point. And a lot of successful lightweights have. And yeah, he got a win over Vyacheslav Borshev, who that in his last fight. Yeah, Slava Claus, who I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's another incredible kickboxer in the UFC. And for Mark Jukhase to get a win over him the way that he did in that fight, I'm pretty sure he mixed things up, got a couple takedowns against Borshev as well. And, that just speaks on the MMA experience that Jukhase, even though he's a stand-up guy, he knows that Borshev is just coming over from kickboxing. It just speaks to his intelligence to go take him down. Went to a decision with Rafael Fiziev, lost that decision, but to not get knocked out by that guy after seeing what he just did to RDA is impressive. And he's had wars with a lot of really good fighters. So I like Mark Jukhase in this one. I don't have the odds right in front of me right now. I'm not sure if you do, Tom, but
minus 300 all the way up to minus 370. So some disparage in that line. Damir Hadrovic, coming back looking about plus 250.
All right, so the odds maker about the same way as I do about Mark Jukhase. How do you feel about Mark Jukhase?
I like him. He went out there, like you said. I think both of us, you were mainly high on the Slava Claus pick, and we went there. We expected Slava Claus to go in there and get it done. I can never say his last name, but Jukhase, close enough.
Yeah.
Sorry, no offense, but either way, he went in there and he put on a phenomenal performance, and I'm right there with you. I think he's going to ride that momentum and be able to capitalize and get on this 2-fight win streak here.
Solid. You got any more prelim notables, locks, anything like that?
Yeah, the last one that I want to talk about is going to be Nathaniel Wood taking on Charles Hossa. Boston Strong Charles Hossa is 3-2 over his last 5. Moving down to 140 pounds for this fight. I think UFC fighters are only winning about 35% of the time in their first appearance at a new weight class. Doing that at 35 years old, going on 36 at the time of the fight. I don't love the makeup of that. Also, Charles Hossa, losing to those guys, TJ Brown, 15-8, Damon Jackson, who's a solid fighter in his own right, but losing a decision there. I mean, losing to Derek Minner as well. I mean, these are not terrible people to lose to. He's got wins over Justin James in a split decision and Kevin Aguilar in a split decision where, I think you can make the argument that, he could have lost that Kevin Aguilar fight as well. So you're looking on a 1-4 fight, our favorite second grade teacher chimed in and kind of
got a little distracted.
Yeah, got a little distracted. So, but yeah, no. At the end of the day, I think he could be looking at himself 1-4 over his last 5. I think Nathaniel Wood, used to the weight class, only getting better, wanting to show off again in front of the UK fans. He put a good amount of time between his last loss to Casey Kenny. I think he's went back to the lab. Casey Kenny, not a bad loss, but I think he's went back to the lab and he's going to come out here and show us something. I think he matches up pretty well for Charles Hossa. I think they basically have a very similar stylistic matchup in terms of being strikers, having the ability on the ground that Nathaniel Wood does. I think, again, I feel like I've said that for the last 2 or 3 fights that we've talked about, that the grappler, and I'm generally, as a rule, going to lean with the grappler. If both guys have pretty similar abilities on the feet and one has a better ground game than the other, yeah, I'm going to go with the grappler. And that's what I'm going to go with here. 96% of the voters on Tapology, 710 of them, are following me and going with Nathaniel Wood. Only 6% on Hossa. The majority of everybody thinking that it's going to go to the decision. I'm going to tend to agree with that as well. And then the last thing is looking at the bets. Good parlay piece here for you, minus 450, all the way as high as minus 530. And then you have, Charles Hossa coming back at around plus 360. So I think between the 3 or 4 that we gave you folks at home, those are some pretty decent prelim parlays for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that pick too, man. Charles Rosa. And I always call him Charles Rosa. I like the way that you say his name, man. You sound very authentic. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I haven't been particularly impressed by him in quite some time. There was a time when I was like, all right, he's decent. And now it's like, you're falling off there, Charles. So yeah, that wraps it up for our prelim picks. We got Enfuego. Enfuego's got his pick, Jai Herbert. Interesting. I like the Jai Herbert pick. It's Kyle Nelson.
I don't hate the Jai Herbert pick, but I'm like a scored lover with Jai Herbert, where there's been a couple of times where I've bet on him and he has not ended up well for me. So I'm afraid to bet on him. And also like he looks he just has like a timid look about him. But
yeah,
interesting pick there. I don't hate it. Let me pull up that fight here and break it down.
Yeah.
Kyle Nelson, Canadian fighter. Jai Herbert shouldn't have too much of a problem here. He's going to want to get off the schneid. 2-3 over his last 5. The KO loss to Ilya Topuria. You'll let that go. Kama Worthy, nice win over him, but then he's got back-to-back losses to Francesco Trinaldo and Renato Moicano. So yeah, I like that. The guy he's going up against, Kyle Nelson, the monster, quote unquote. Got knocked out by Billy Quarantillo. Billy Quarantillo, not a guy who I'm going to say is a headhunter and going to go out there and knock a lot of people out. So that's definitely a concern. Looking at his chin, then getting a loss to Diego Fajeda via ground and pound, submission to Matt Sales. I mean, this guy has a lot of holes in his game. I don't think Jai Herbert's going to be put out by Kyle Nelson, and I think there's a lot more ways for Jai Herbert to get the win there.
Yeah, it seems like
you're right on.
Yeah, it does seem like a fight that's going to raise his stock a little bit, especially after the Topuria loss. Because Topuria is good. We know he's good. And Fuego's saying that he should have ended Topuria. But I think definitely a stock rising fight in front of the home fans. Don't think his chin is completely broken just yet after that fight, even though that was a pretty nasty knockout. But yeah, I like the pick. Thank you for that, Enfuego. So now we're moving on up to the main card. We're going to open with Paul Craig.
Paul Craig.
Yeah, Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir. Let's see, what's this other comment? And he's the Black Country Banger, best nickname in the UFC. Interesting.
That is a top UFC nickname for sure.
Well, with this fight, I'm rolling with Paul Craig. Personally. Yeah, I really like the activity out of this guy lately. He's been super active, and it's weird considering that a few months ago he was like, yeah, maybe I got like 2-3 more fights, and now Paul Craig is in there consistently, fighting a couple times a year, snapping arms. Whose arm was that he snapped? Another light heavyweight contender.
I can see his face right now.
Yeah, and he has an interesting spelt name. Oh, Jamal Hill. And what?
And he just sat back. Yeah, John Mahal Hill. He snapped it, and John Mahal Hill just like that was the one where it was flapping around, and then afterwards, he just kind of sat back like, "What do you want me to do?" My arm snapped.
Yeah, no, it was out there in the breeze, and then he beat Nikita Krylov with a really nice triangle choke. Paul Craig's the kind of guy that like he's almost like beginning to fight like Oliveira, or like guys should look at him like Charles Oliveira, in the sense that you can knock him down, but don't meet him on the ground. And I think it's going to be a little bit before guys realize that out of Paul Craig, because if you are rolling with him, you're going to get something snapped, or you're going to get, choked out. You're going to be tapping one way or the other, or you're going to be seriously injured. Yeah. Subbed Ankalaev at 4:59 of the third round. That's right. Yeah. Paul Craig is just, he's a savage. And I don't think that there's any way that you couldn't roll with him, considering he's also the underdog in this fight. So, really impressive wins over some guys. Paul Craig, that's my guy. Yeah. The win over Magomed Ankalaev, triangle choke with a second left in round 3, or in the beginning. I don't know how Tapology does it. I'm like I said, brain broken, hungover as fuck.
He got a submission 1 second into the round, so probably.
Yeah. Just trying to give you guys some picks today. Don't jump all over me. I'm fucking shot. But anyways, Paul Craig, go for it. Take over.
Yeah, I like Paul Craig a lot here. Volkan Oezdemir, he's a guy who's got power, but he's not very fast. He's much more on the technical side. He's a puncher. He's not going to use his legs too much. He will shoot a takedown at times, but it's really not his bread and butter. Usually he's going to shoot that takedown when he's having problems on the feet. I think in order to beat him, you do need to have a good chin, and you need to move in on Oezdemir. You can't stay at range. He can be controlled on the ground against good grapplers, but he does have decent takedown defense. He leaves his chin open at times. He does try to knee people when they go to take him down. He does have an active front knee to try and negate that takedown defense. He's on a 2-fight slide here with 3 losses in his last 5. That is Volkan Oezdemir. For a lot of the things that make him good or work with his defense, Paul Craig is not a guy who is going to necessarily have to go in for a single leg and take you down, or a high crotch double leg you take you down. He's a guy who can get into the clinch with you and then just fall backwards. You fall onto him, and then boom, now you're in his world, and you're playing jiu-jitsu with him, and that's a game that you do not want to play with Paul Craig. So I think the knees, after going for takedowns, is not going to be sufficient defense for Volkan Oezdemir here against Paul Craig. I don't think that I know Paul Craig has gotten TKO'd in the past. He's lost to Alonzo Menefield in 2019, but he looks to have improved then. We haven't seen chin issues since. We've seen him actually stand and bang and take some shots. So, he beat Nikita, Krylov, Jamalal Hill, who are, really finding their ability and their success recently as well. So, like I said, pulls guard from the clinch, amazing with his overhook. That, I think, actually what broke Jamalal Hill is he had his arm in an overhook. It was like a sneaky submission where he was turning and actually just like popped that forearm or maybe the bicep bone. And his striking has improved from earlier in his career. So I think we're going to see him go in there, maybe throw a punch or two, maybe a couple of kicks against Volkan Oezdemir, and then within the first minute and a half, this fight is going to go to the ground. Oezdemir does not have the type of takedown defense necessary to keep this fight standing. And even if he did keep it standing, I'm sure he would have the advantage, but I don't think it is so large that I, would even really feel super duper comfortable with him on the feet either, with Paul Craig's improved striking. So I'm going to go Paul Craig by submission over Volkan Oezdemir. Let's say, I think it happens in the first round too.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll happen pretty early into this fight. Paul Craig is becoming that guy, especially at his older age.
You want to talk about best UFC nicknames? The Bear Jew is up there.
That is, in my opinion, that is the best. It's so fitting. Yeah. So I'm definitely rolling with Paul Craig by submission. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing what that comes out to. Right now, I think that's still under wraps. But being that he's the underdog, that's going to be big money, and that might be like the one that I wager the most on this upcoming Saturday.
And the lines are moving towards Oezdemir too. What do they know that we don't? I don't see how Paul Craig loses this one, and unless he gets popped. But I think he's going to be careful of the Oezdemir power. Other than that, he's going to get it to the ground. Oezdemir has not that accomplished of a ground game. We know Paul Craig has some of the dirtiest submission jiu-jitsu in the game. So yeah, I'm heavy on Paul Craig.
Yeah, famous last words though, right?
That's true. But he's out in front of the UK fans. He's going to want to give it to him. I don't know. He's a fun fighter. He's definitely one of my favorite fighters too. But
he's
moving
exciting.
up the card.
Yeah, so now we got Molly Meatball McCann. I like the Meatball nickname versus Hannah Goldy with not as great of a nickname. It fits.
Her name is like Goldschmidt or Goldstein, and her nickname is like Goldie. Like it was confusing in one of her recent fights that it says like Goldschmidt on her shorts, but the UFC banner has a Hannah Goldy.
Interesting. Well, I'm not taking her in this fight. I'm going to roll with Molly Meatball McCann, and I think it's just she's the type of girl that gets it done in front of the home crowd fans. Yeah, good question. How's Hannah Goldy on a UFC main card? Well, it's because they wanted to put Molly McCann on the main card, I think personally, and she's a good matchup for Molly McCann in terms of like winnability. I think Molly McCann can get it done over Hannah Goldy. The biggest thing going for Molly McCann is the home fans in this one, because she is like a true what do they call them, Scousers. She's a true Scouser.
Out.
Yeah. She lives for Liverpool, and I think more so than her fighting ability this week, it's the Liverpool fans that are going to be like the big advantage that she has over Hannah Goldy. It's going to be an unfriendly crowd for Hannah Goldy, and Molly McCann thrives when the people are cheering her on. So, you know, I mean, I'm not particularly impressed by either of these women and what they do, except for the fact that Molly McCann in front of a home crowd knows how to get it done. So I'm rolling with Molly McCann here. Probably by decision, but if she gets another crazy fucking knockout like that spinning elbow, good for her, because it's just going to increase her stock, and you know, she'll keep making the main card over there and on the UK cards. What do you think? Are you taking Meatball?
Yeah, I'm taking Meatball. She's a gamer. She's somebody who is definitely going to allow the energy of the fans kind of go through her and impact her performance in a positive way. Hannah Goldy does not have a lot of good skills, and I'll just put it that way. She's been finished before. She's been submitted before. I think in one of her last few fights, she took the girl down and then was winning the round. Or no, she was getting taken down, was losing, and then all of a sudden caught a last second head and arm triangle and won. And she was very, very excited, which she should be, but there was almost like a bit of like shocked like that came out of it. Hannah Goldy, if you ever seen her, is gigantic. She is jacked, dude. Like she's bigger than me for sure. And I don't think that is going to be good for the length of a fight. Like just carrying all of that muscle, I don't think you can do that for incredibly long unless your dad is a pharmacist, if you know what I mean. I'm looking at you, Kamaru Usman. Either way, I think everything that Hannah Goldy can try to throw Meatball Molly, Meatball's going to be able to deal with. You know, she has that special ability to take punishment and just keep going forward. Like Scousers don't get knocked out, like is, you know, up until this point been tried and true. She has the ability to finish, like looking at Luana Carolina fight, but that's more of a new skill set and it hasn't been repeated much from Meatball Molly McCann. She's a big time scrapper. Talia Santos is not a bad loss. She has a pretty decent ground game, but likes to really just stand and bang. She's got good UFC experience, good MMA experience, and I think she's just going to kind of thrive in front of the UK crowd and going to go out there, stand and bang in front of Hannah Goldy, and she might even get another finish in the first round, maybe the second round. So I like the fight for Meatball Molly McCann. I like it a lot better than the fight that Paddy Pimblet is going on with Jordan Leavitt. I think she is a much safer pick than Paddy Pimblet. Not saying Paddy's going to lose, but I think she's going to have an easier day at the office than Paddy is.
Yeah. How do you think she's going to get it done?
Yeah, I think she finishes her. I do think she finishes her. Hannah Goldy has shown that she has the ability to be finished. Molly has shown in her last fight against Luana Carolina, who's not terrible in her own right, that she has the ability to finish. When you talk about somebody who is gets so much energy from the crowd like Molly McCann does, I think she actually goes out there and finishes her. And you know that I'm very, very, very tentative to talk about women's fights getting finished, but I see Molly McCann going out there and getting the W. I do not think she's going to go out there and sub her plus 2,600, but that's actually worth throwing. That's worth throwing on, you know. And I don't know what Meathead is or Meathead, Meatball. I would be interested to see what Meatball Molly's to win by KO is, and just that overall win by finish line. If that's looking, you know, plus good money, that's worth putting it on there because I think she's going to get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. I'm definitely going to be throwing on that plus 2,600 by submission because I don't know. I mean, it just feels good. Sometimes when it's like that and like, you know, you're so confident in a fighter winning, and then it comes out of nowhere with like Yuri by submission. Like, yeah, we thought the Yuri was going to, or I thought Yuri was going to win. I think he took Glover, but nobody would have ever seen a Yuri Prochazka submission coming. And I think it's going to be, you know, similar this time around. Vegas doesn't even see it coming. So,
Hannah Goldy has a tremendous ground game. You know what I mean? And Molly McCann has decent ground game. So expecting her to go out there and submit her when Molly likes to go in there and scrap and bang. Like, even if she hurts Goldie, she's going to follow up with punches. She's not going to, follow up and try to sub her. Now, hey, listen, I've been wrong before, and that's a juicy line. But I would be really interested to see what Molly McCann by finish looks like as compared to that sub line. Hey, listen, if you got $5-10 to throw it on there, because it absolutely can happen. Goldie has been submitted before. She got atrocious ground game. But, I guess it's plus 2,600 for a reason. You know what I mean? It's not super likely. But I think it's more likely than plus 2,600, which is, I guess, where the value boys would tell you to bet.
$20 on that is like, over 400, almost over $500 payout right there. So that could be a big day if that happens. I mean, not like crazy big, but 20 to win 500. Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. So we're both rolling with Molly McCann there. We're going to kick it on up to Nikita Krylov versus Alexander Gustafsson. And this one isn't one that I feel like particularly confident in either guy about. And that's because, Krylov is coming off a couple losses, lost to Paul Craig, lost to Ankalaev, a win against Johnny Walker, which, last year or 2 years ago now, 2020 is so long ago. But Johnny Walker, a win against him hasn't aged well. Lost to Glover Teixeira, and then, a history of losses before that, history of wins and losses. Jesus, I just made it just sound like Nikita Krylov is some kind of bum. And then you look at, our buddy Alexander over there coming out of Sweden. He's been off for quite some time now. Like, what's it been? It's since his loss to Verdum, it's been since 2020. So it's basically 2 years, like, on the nose that he'll be coming back. But I don't feel super confident in either one of these guys because Krylov, I think I'm going to go with Krylov here. They keep putting him up against like the top level of the light heavyweight division. And then you have Gustafsson just coming back after 2 years away. He is washed. And Krylov's losses have come to really good competition, especially he's losing to them in their discipline. Ankalaev lost by wrestling, just I think he was out wrestled to a decision, lost by a submission to Paul Craig. So, and then Gustafsson is washed. He's not really good in any one discipline anymore, I don't think. I mean, he's still a legend of the game. You can't give him any shit for that, but it's been too long, and he was already starting to fall apart when he was in the UFC still. So I'm going with Nikita Krylov. What do you got, Tom?
Yeah, I like a lot of what you were saying. Gustafsson, he's got good lateral movement. Let me put the camera on me. What do you say? Gustafsson has good lateral movement. He's decent in both areas of MMA, but striking is definitely his forte. He sees a lot of decisions. He's light on his feet, especially for a bigger guy. He likes to counterpunch. He likes to move a lot. So it can be hard to finish him and find him. He can be submitted. He's open to mistakes on the ground, but again, like I said, not inept. He has some ground ability. He's had 2 years off since his last fight, and then he had before that another 2 years off before. I mean, it's nuts thinking that just 2 fights ago he was fighting John Jones 3.5 years ago. So that's the level of inactivity that we've seen from Alexander Gustafsson. Long, rangy, mobile fighter, only been knocked down once, which is really, really impressive. He does seem to get better as the fight goes on. He KO'd Glover Teixeira in the 5th. Had a split decision loss to DC. So, I think as the fight goes on, you're going to start to see Gustafsson do better. I think he potentially could win the 3rd round, but I think Nikita Krylov, who's a grappler, he's a good striker too, a very, very good kicker. He's a sniper with his kicks. Also really good at lateral movement, has good takedown defense, which I don't think is going to come into play too much here for him. He's got a really good mix of takedowns and striking. He's solid off his back as well. I think Nikita Krylov is, 30 years old, so much closer to his prime. You have Gustafsson, who's 35, but with that extended period of layoffs. A lot of this is just tipping the scales toward Nikita Krylov for me. He's quicker. He's got good kicks. He's got that ground ability that is much better than what Gustafsson has. I think we're going to see Krylov win the 1st and the 2nd with his striking and then his grappling. And then maybe, Gustafsson comes in and takes the 3rd. About 6.5, 7 out of 10 confidence here on this fight. But, I just think that Paul Craig when I said DC, I think I meant Paul Craig looking at my notes here. But and you could almost throw that loss to Paul Craig out. So for Nikita Krylov. So at the end of the day, I'm going Nikita Krylov. I think he's got a lot more things that are in his corner than are in Alexander Gustafsson. And then you just add in the time, and it's all Krylov for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you on that. I think Gustafsson his day is come and gone, and he's another one of these guys trying to relive the gold days, the old days. So next up, we got Paddy Pimblet versus Jordan Leavitt, the Torque Master. I don't think that's his actual nickname. What's Leavitt's nickname? I mean, Torque Master would the Monkey King. Interesting.
He's an interesting dude. He reads. I think he does a book a week or a book a month. He's another guy who's really interested in MMA and the fact that like he believes in balance. So like he's strengthening his mind, strengthening his body. I like Jordan Leavitt, to be honest. I don't know if he's going to win this fight, but this is the first opportunity for Paddy Pimblet to fight in the UFC, where he's actually fighting a guy with legitimate grappling chops. So for Paddy the Baddy, his last loss is to a guy named Zoran Bach, who's one of those guys who's a lot like a Michael Chandler. Really good striking, powerful, quick, but has that wrestling base. And like I said, good striking and good stamina. Zoran, looking back and watch that fight, Zoran is kind of like a reckless, abandoned striker with a lot of confidence in all areas. And you really have to tire him out and keep him standing. That's what's going to get you a win over Paddy Pimblet. And that's what Zoran did. He was able to take him down a couple of times, tire him out on the feet, or on the ground rather. And then on the feet, Paddy Pimblet was just not what he was. And by trade, Paddy's going to want to take you down and ground and pound and finish you there. He's got a good ground game, an even better chin, and an amazing rear naked choke and ability to just take shots and keep coming forward and stand and trade. I think he uses a lot of movement on the feet. He's very formidable, but that's not his strongest area, is striking. So he's going to want to, use his striking, take a couple shots, give one to take one, and take one to give one, whatever the saying is. But he's going to ultimately want to lay some power onto you, take you down, and finish the fight on the ground. He's got really good straight shots and like running techniques leading to his ground game. So where he kind of, shoots in with some punches and then transition into a scramble that leads to him in a good position on the ground. Jordan Leavitt, he's an awkward striker. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is his bread and butter. He has not been finished in the UFC, or I think even outside of it. He has the ability to fight, kind of make the fight his speed. So, he takes away what the opponent wants to do. He slows it down and he goes, we're going to, do this at my speed and his and whatever he wants. And I guess what I'm trying to say is he dictates the pace of the fight. That's a much better way of saying it. With his ability to control range, decide when the fight hits the ground, use his takedown defense if he decides to keep it standing. He's got pretty good takedown defense. And when he does end up on his back, he's very active off his back. He's only won one unanimous decision in his career and one split decision. And basically what that's telling me is that he does get tired at the end of the fight. So I think we're going to see – I think this one is actually going to go to decision. I think Paddy is going to win. I think both of these fighters are going to peak early, but Leavitt is going to fade as the fight goes on. And I think sometimes once he's tired, he can accept those bad positions and kind of eat shots. I think, like I said, his cardio is a bit of where his game starts to fall off a little bit. I don't think this one ends in the first due to both guys being so durable and still young. I think Paddy has the striking advantage and a slight grappling advantage as the fight goes on. Definitely the closest fight that Paddy's had of his career so far in the UFC, but I still think he's probably going to win it 29-28, potentially 30-27. I don't think Paddy the Baddy is going to be able to submit him. I don't think he's going to ground and pound Jordan Leavitt either, but I definitely don't know if I would feel super confident picking Paddy Pimblet because of the ability that Jordan Leavitt has.
Okay. So I feel like Paddy is very overrated. I just want to start off by saying that. And I like everything you said, so I'm just going to make this quick. Why does nobody talk about the fact that Paddy puts on 50 pounds between fights and then loses it all super rapidly? That's got to be bad.
People don't talk about that?
No, I know, but like in the sense that like, okay, yeah, he's a social media character. I didn't mean it like that. It's very talked about. But the effect that it's going to have on his fighting going forward and potentially his chin, because we've seen that before where guys drop a lot of weight to, weight. Yeah, Darren Till. And, so I think that's something that we got to start looking out for, man, because he isn't like getting old. He's still a young guy, but eventually all this is going to catch up to him. He gets rocked in almost every fight. Luigi Vendramini rocked him. Paddy came back to win that one. But I don't think that Paddy ever has a chance of doing anything super serious in the UFC. They started off with easy fights for him. Like you said, this is one of the ones that's going to be tougher on him. This
is like his first legitimate test.
Yeah. It's someone who matches up well with him. And, someone we've seen win a couple of fights recently, at about the same level as Paddy. I think if it goes to decision, Paddy is more safe because, we got to be real. There is like hometown favoritism from some judges in some areas. And we saw that on the UK card. But we've picked pretty much everybody that's fighting on like the UK side of things so far. Am I wrong about that? Right? Paul Craig.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think, and we saw this the last time around that there was like one or two. I don't think it was a clean sweep for the UK fighters. I think this time it's going to be, it could potentially be Paddy Pimblet that loses and the rest of them take the sweep. Maybe that's just like a statistical thing. Like not everybody from there can win. The UFC keeps things exciting enough where it's like these are good matchups. And, I think there's a really good chance that Jordan Leavitt wins. Personally, I don't feel confident enough to like bet a lot of money on Jordan Leavitt. And I do like Paddy, it's like a character. Tough one. This is one of those ones that could either way, and it could happen any number of ways. But I think just wallet wise, I think I might bet Jordan Leavitt to beat Paddy Pimblet by knockout because of those issues with the chin, potential issues with the chin, and the fact that he has gotten rocked. I think it's going to catch up to him at some point. Not a proper camp. Our buddy in Fuego, he mentioned that in the comments. He's not training enough off messing around in the States prior to fights. Not a proper camp. Yeah, Paddy doesn't seem to take this seriously at all. And he's reiterating what I'm saying as well, that if it goes to a decision, then Paddy is going to get it because there is hometown bias when it comes to the judges. We've seen it all over. We've seen it in Arizona and Abu Dhabi. Where?
In New York, badly.
Yeah. So yeah, there's bias. There's hometown bias for sure. I'm leaning towards a Paddy decision bet and Jordan Leavitt to win by knockout bet. Not that Jordan Leavitt's like a crazy power puncher or anything, but it's just Paddy gets caught. He gets confident, cocky, and leaves his chin up there. I said I was going to make this quick, and I'm not making it quick at all. So, I'm having a hard time with this one. I think just for my picks on here, I'm going to go with Paddy. But for our pick rundown, but in terms of like my actual picks, I'm going with Jordan Leavitt to win by knockout and Paddy the Baddy to win by decision. Those are two bets that I'll definitely be staking this weekend.
Yeah, I hear you. I like the way I like those two because for all we talked about, I don't think Paddy is going to lose a decision. He has an ability to get hit and keep moving forward, but dropped a lot. I don't know if Leavitt's going to have the power coming back to be a one-punch knockout. I think he'll follow up and maybe do some ground and pound shots on the ground, and maybe that's when it gets stopped. But also, they're going to give Paddy a wide berth because of his history to come back from shots and because it's in the UK. So a little tentative on that. But I like it as like a prop pick. You know what I mean? Depending on what those odds are that you're going to get that at. But looking here, Jordan Leavitt's like plus 200, and I don't think that's enough for me to want to like put a good amount of money on him to win. I know this is the highest possibility of Paddy losing, but I still think he's going to pull this one out. And this is going to get him the competition to where he's then going to really struggle. Like I think after this fight, he cannot blow up. He has to really, really focus and stay on track, stay in the gym. He's got to get really serious following this Jordan Leavitt fight if he wins. And maybe it's going to be so difficult for him. He's like, all right, I do need to focus because all that other stuff doesn't happen without the in-octagon success. So, Infuego's talking about how Rodrigo Vargas took Pimblett down in the last UK card. Yeah, listen, like he has susceptibilities. He leaves his chin out there. Like Paddy is in no way a bulletproof fighter. He's no Muhammad Mokaev. No Ricky Simone. Thinking of fighters that come to mind recently of just having really good technique and ability to stay safe. He does not stay safe, and that's gonna bite him in the ass one day. I don't know if Jordan Leavitt's gonna be the guy to do it, but certainly has the greatest chance so far. I don't know. I'm like I said, not picking Jordan Leavitt plus 200, but if that closer to the week, if that ticks up to 250, that might be a pretty sweet deal. I'm not a value guy at all. I like to think about who do I think is going to win the fight, and I think it's going to be Paddy, but I also if it's like minus 300 or something, like that's just not playable for me. So
No.
I think this one's not. I don't want to touch it from a betting perspective, but yeah, mark my words. This is going to be a hard fight for Paddy, and Jordan Leavitt has the best chance of winning and finishing Paddy of anyone so far.
Yeah, if he does finish him, that twerking that he's going to do in front of the UK fans, they're going to hate him.
Yeah,
they're going to have to. Yeah, but they're gonna have to escort that guy back to his hotel room and fly him out of the country ASAP because they're not gonna like him over there.
If they treat UFC the way they treat soccer, it's gonna be really ugly for Jordan Leavitt's twerking ability.
Absolutely. Yeah. So kicking it on up, Jack Hermansson versus Chris Curtis. I've said it. I said it the last time that Chris Curtis fought when he fought Rodolfo Vieira. I will never not bet on Chris Curtis until he, proves that I shouldn't. I went against him in his UFC debut, and ever since then, he's done so well. In his last fight against Vieira, Vieira tried to take him down a few times. Chris Curtis presented a really good takedown defense, and Jack Hermansson is a really good wrestler. Vieira's not on the same level as Hermansson when it comes to the grappling, but Chris Curtis looked phenomenal in that one, just stuffing each takedown over and over again, delivering crazy shots that shut Vieira down. I know I got Infuego in the comments telling me that we're taking Joker, but I'm going with Chris Curtis here. He's got heavy hands, and that takedown defense has really stuck out to me the most. And then you look at Hermansson on the other side. He's a great fighter, but he did just take his last loss to Sean Strickland, and Sean Strickland and Chris Curtis are training partners. Sean Strickland didn't have the best showing, but a win over Hermansson, he's definitely passing along that little game plan to his buddy Chris Curtis over there. And Jack Hermansson is a guy that if he chooses to stand and bang with Chris Curtis, it's going to be a major problem for him. He's not gonna survive the fight. Getting a little bit up there in age, he's got a lot of fights under his belt so far. But Sean Strickland landed some decent shots on Jack Hermansson, more point striking than anything. If Chris Curtis goes in there and does what he does, he has a lot more power than Sean Strickland. I think he actually has the ability to shut Jack Hermansson's lights off. But I'm going to take Chris Curtis straight up because I think the line is pretty tight in this fight. Gonna check that out real quick.
Basically even. I have Hermansson at plus 100, plus 105, minus 106 in one area, and then Chris Curtis minus 120, minus 105-ish region, minus 110. This is pretty much a dead pick 'em. And I like all right, let me pull myself in here. And I like Chris Curtis a lot, and I'm just going to tell you that. I like Chris Curtis. He's denied 20 of Rodolfo Vieira's takedowns, 3 from Brendan Allen, 3 from Phil Hawes. His straight punches landed a lot on Rodolfo Vieira, who's got a similar style to Jack Hermansson. Chris Curtis has basically only fought grapplers in the UFC up to this point, and he's made them strike with him, and that's where he's really gotten his success. His only question for me, Chris Curtis, is, how is his gas tank and how fatigued is his body following that Rodolfo Vieira fight just a couple of weeks ago? That was June 25th, so now you're going to be turning around in about 1 month. I know that he didn't take any serious damage. That's why he's able to do this and be back in the cage and training, I think, 1 or 2 days later. But at the end, you never know how the toll it took on his legs from leg strikes or punches, like how long that made him have to amend his training camp following the last fight. And then now you have to play catch up versus Jack Hermansson, who's a guy who's been training, prepared, and healthy for this fight going in. that being said, Chris Curtis is a very accomplished striker. He's got good scrambles, solid Brazilian jiu-jitsu. He's got heavy strikes and ground and pound. He moved forward against Rodolfo Vieira and defended the cage takedown very, very well against Vieira. And the reason that's important because that's where Jack Hermansson gets a lot of his takedowns. He's not going to get the takedowns in the center of the cage. He's going to back you up to the cage and try to get you down from the cage. Jack Hermansson is a grappler by trade, and he's not easily finished. He likes to back opponents up, like I said, and take them down against the fence. He's not at his best with his own back against the fence, and he's not at his best when he has to fight backing up either. He's not great at the open cage / mat takedowns. He does have crafty submissions and a very, very good guillotine that you may have to watch out for. But again, like I said, Chris Curtis has good jiu-jitsu, so I'm not necessarily concerned about the sneaky guillotine. On the feet, Jack Hermansson does have a very solid gas tank, which I think will be highlighted here once we get into the later rounds because he's been able to prepare and have that typical camp versus Chris Curtis, who, again, is on a quick turnaround, fill-in fight. The only question mark I have for Chris Curtis is going to be his gas tank and how banged up he is following that Rodolfo Vieira fight. Jack Hermansson could not take down Strickland at all. Curtis and Sean have been training together for a while. And I just think that Jack Hermansson has a ability to be hit on the feet when he's striking, especially to the straight punch, which Chris Curtis does very, very, very well. So for all of those reasons, Chris Curtis having the better standing ability, having the better power, having the straight punches that land on Jack Hermansson, having really, really good takedown defense that I don't think Jack Hermansson is going to be able to get into. But even if it does, Chris Curtis has good jiu-jitsu. Again, the only question mark for me is going to be his gas tank and how beat up he was following Rodolfo Vieira. And I want to check in here with our friend Infuego. You know, he was talking he was really high on the Joker, and looks like we have brought him over to our side. So thank you. Excited. The Action Man is bringing the action on Saturday. Can't wait. And hey, how about Chris Curtis? This time last year, I think he was fighting in a minor promotion, and then now he's basically the co-main at UFC London at the the O2 Arena.
Yeah,
that's a big year for Chris Curtis.
That's what happens when you put on great performances. You say yes when they call your name, and you go in there and you win in stunning fashion. That's just how it goes. You know, you're gonna entertain and become a fan favorite very quickly, and people are gonna want to see you. Like, I love watching Chris Curtis fight. I'm super pumped about it. Favorable matchup for him, I think. You know, with the takedown defense that he has, I think that's the biggest thing. And like you mentioned, it's just how beat up was he from fighting Vieira. I don't think.
Go ahead.
No, what were you about to say?
I was going to say, interesting thing here from Infuego. Hype Train Stats here. Joker needs a huge win. His back's against the wall. Well, Infuego, I just told you, Jack, the Joker Hermansson, does not fight well when his back is up against the fence. So just another.
Hey, play on words. I like it. Nice little pun there, right? Hey, what's up, Patrick? How you doing, man? So, yeah, super excited about this one. Okay, parlay, Paul Craig, Chris Curtis, Tom Aspinall. Nice little segue into the main event. We've got Tom Aspinall coming up against Curtis Blaydes. I think this is one of the tougher main events to pick that we've had in a long time because you've got Curtis Blaydes and it's really, it's great, his wrestling. There's no other way to put it, stunning, whatever. And then you got Tom Aspinall, who seems like he can do it all. And he's got really heavy hands, putting guys to sleep.
Tom Aspinall. That should be his name. Do it all.
Do it all, Tom Aspinall. I like that. Yeah, that's good. But
what do you charge him for that? Go on, sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm gonna go with Tom Aspinall here, though, and because Tom Aspinall can do it all. And Curtis Blaydes did show in his last fight, who was Chris Dawkins. He did show that he's got really good hands too, but I don't think that Chris Dawkins is making the cut in the heavyweight division right now. I feel like he should probably drop down some weight and move down to light heavyweight. But Curtis Blaydes, he showed that he has his hands against Chris Dawkins. But if he tries to stand and bang with Tom Aspinall, Tom's going to put him to sleep. And And I think, even if he doesn't want to, Tom Aspinall is another guy with pretty decent takedown defense. He's got good jiu-jitsu for a really big guy. I think, he puts Curtis Blaydes to sleep one way or the other, basically. Maybe he sprawls against a takedown and works his way up on top, just beats the snot out of Curtis Blaydes with ground and pound or on his feet, because he does have that one punch KO power. He's do it all Tom Aspinall, and that's why I'm rolling with him this weekend. Tight line, -135, it looks like. So Tom Aspinall feels like a really good pick, and more so than that, I think Tom Aspinall to get a knockout is a really good pick too. The line's going to be juicy. Our buddy in Fuego, he just said it again. Outside of Volkov, Blaydes hasn't beaten anybody. That's right. It's true. And Tom Aspinall is a guy that as many other people may think, Tom Aspinall has the potential to be a future champion in this division. So, I'm rolling with Tom Aspinall here. I think he's going to shut Curtis Blaydes' lights off. So Tom Aspinall to win by KO. Looking forward to seeing what that line is going to be at -135, and it's probably the most likely option in Vegas's eyes. I see it being probably like a +175 line for that. So see what it is when it comes out, but I'm definitely locking in Tom Aspinall now, because -135, that's a good line for Tom Aspinall, and you know that that's going to move by the time Saturday comes around, especially with all the British fans. All the people in attendance are going to be betting. Things are going to move. So I'm taking Tom, as we call him now, do it all Aspinall. Are you rolling with him as well there, Tom? Pickin Fights, Tom?
Kowalski.
Yeah, do a lot of stuff, Tom.
Do a lot of it, not all of it. But listen, let me start first with Curtis Blaydes. He's a grappler by trade. There's no question as to what he's going to do, but he has very hard and powerful punches at times. But like I said, there's no denying what he's going to go in there and try and do, unless you're Chris Daukaus, in which case he was kind of fearing that takedown, and that's what led him to be able to be beaten on the feet. But I think Chris Daukaus is a little bit of a prospect that we kind of escalated up the rankings without true validation behind some of his wins and his skill set and his ranking. Curtis Blaydes has been KO'd before by heavy punchers. He's landed good shots, or he did land good shots in the Daukaus fight. Sometimes he doesn't feint when he should, to get strikers thinking that he doesn't feint the takedown as much as he could. You know what I mean? But it'll be interesting to see if that's a part of his game that he comes in and incorporates against the true step up in talent against Tom Aspinall, who's looked fantastic against basically everyone he's fought. He's made it look easy. It's reminiscent of John Jones, just kind of coming in and lighting everybody on fire and making it look like this guy is just levels above everybody else. Back to Curtis Blaydes. He showed that he wants to and can stand and bang in the Daukaus fight, and I think that's going to be a big issue for him if he fights Tom Aspinall. I mean, you look at the build of Tom Aspinall and then you look at the build of Chris Daukaus. I mean, you tell me which one of those guys you would prefer to, or which one of those guys would you rather not be in a cage with. Tom Aspinall is yoked at 260, 250. I think he just put up a video of him like swimming the English Channel or something ridiculous. Yeah. The guy is a physical specimen. Chris Daukaus is not that. I mean, Chris Daukaus, he's a fireman, or is he a cop or is he a fireman? I think he's a cop. He's a cop. All right, hey, good for you. Back of boys on blue, but at the end of the day, like, those two guys cannot be compared when you're looking at their overall athleticism. So, again, back to Chris Daukaus. Nope, not Chris Daukaus. Back to Curtis Blaydes. He's got takedowns. He's got very, very vicious ground and pound. And that sometimes can lead him to win a decision. He's got solid striking on his feet. He's got solid power. He has a lot of good competition. The only issue that he can't overcome seems to be giant powers, looking at Derek Lewis and Francis Ngannou as far as the weaknesses for Curtis Blaydes. For Tom Aspinall, like I said, he's got very, very good striking. He mixes knees, kicks. He's got great footwork and really, really good feints. He is basically what a technician would love to see in a striker. And the fact that he's got big power and a giant build to go with it is basically a dream for anybody who likes violence. He fights moving forward, and he's very active. He's got very fast hands, 11 first-round finishes. He prefers standing, but he does have a good ground game as well. He's going to be fighting Hype, being the main event of the UFC London card, fighting in front of his hometown. He has a variety of ways to win. He hasn't fought anyone close to as good of a grappler as Chris Curtis is, and I will say that that's important to note. However, he showed good grappling fundamentals versus Andrei Arlovsky, but none of his opponents, like I said, really qualified to have that level of ground game as Curtis Blaydes does. But again, I really like the way Tom Aspinall, when he comes to the fight, he's always calm, he's composed, and he doesn't look like the moment's ever too big for him. So for all of those reasons, I'm going to go with Aspinall. The only question is truly how good his takedown defense and his bottom game is against guys who specialize in it. But ultimately, I think Tom Aspinall is going to be able to use his size and his IQ to deny a lot of the positions that Curtis Blaydes is going to try and use to take him down. I think that Tom Aspinall is going to piece him up on the feet, and I think ultimately he is going to be like another guy like Paddy, energized in front of the crowd and get a finish in like the second or third round. We know that that is a weakness of Curtis Blaydes, and I'm going with Tom Aspinall. Shocker.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this main event, though. I like Tom Aspinall, man. He's fun. He's a young guy. So
we're talking about Chris Dawkins. Quit a copy,
Yeah.
you got to go to focus on fighting, comes in, loses to Curtis Blaydes. Unfortunate.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
Maybe he should maybe he should do both again.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm super excited about Tom Aspinall. Yeah, absolutely. Blaydes, I feel like, has holes in his game that Tom Aspinall is going to be able to exploit. And you know, I mean, Blaydes, you said it too, Tom. Blaydes has a really hard time against guys with legitimate power, and Tom Aspinall has legit power. Super excited about this one. It's going to be awesome. He's a guy, young, so you know, if he continues what he's doing in this division, it's really good for the UFC, and it's really good for a pretty lackluster division because, you know, outside of like the top like 7 guys in the heavyweight division, like it's pretty trash after that. So, you know, it's really good for the guys like him and Tai. So, yeah, super excited to see what goes on with Tom Aspinall going forward. I think this might be, is it like confirmed that it's like a number 1 contender fight in a way, or, you know, next to the belt? Because
is it ever confirmed? You know what I mean? Dana just says stuff, but like at the end of the day, if he comes out there and he beats Curtis Blaydes, especially if he makes it look easy, how are you going to deny him an opportunity at the belt? But Tom Aspinall is one of those guys who's like, yeah, dude, I don't have to fight for the belt right now. Like, I'm fine just fighting other people and getting experience. Like,
yeah,
again, just calm, confident in the cage. He takes that on the mic. I think we're going to see a really interesting post-fight press conference and post-fight interview. Yeah, I guess it's post-fight interview this weekend.
I'm so excited. I can't wait to see who he calls out, or, you know, I mean, as long as he.
I'll be watching this card from Aruba, so have a little bit of extra, whatever, a little extra something on it for me. You know, watching it in a paradise, it's gonna be dope.
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet, man. I'm jealous. So, yo, thanks for helping me get through my hangover today. This gave me something to get out of bed for. Before we leave, we're gonna do our pick rundown. Somebody's coming in your room.
Yeah, that's Chance, our mascot.
Oh, Chance. Dude, I thought maybe your house was haunted.
Nope. Here he is. Here's a dogger.
Kicking it off with the Prelim Locks, or Prelim Notables, I should say. I'm going to take the Fuego's pick with Jai Herbert. I'm going with Jai Herbert there, Muhammad Mokaev, and I'm going to take Mark Duquesne. All, you know, pretty heavy odds, but they're taking fights. So then I'm going to take Paul Craig to open up the main card, Molly Meatball McCann over Hannah Goldy, Nikita Krylov, leaning towards Jordan Leavitt against Paddy Pimblet, Chris Curtis over Jack Hermansson, and I'm ending it off with Tom Aspinall over Curtis Blaydes. What do you got, Tom?
All right, I got going from the bottom all the way up. I got Mason Jones over Ludovic Klein. I'm sprinkling a little bit on Nicholas Dalby over Claudio Silva. I'm giving a lot of picks here because I need to make up for my horrendous? Yeah, whatever. Last week. So Muhammad Mokaev over Charles Johnson. I like that. Jai Herbert over Kyle Nelson, taking that from our boy in Fuego. Daniel Wood over Charles Rosa. Mark, say his last name for me, Keith.
I say Duquesne. I don't know if that's correct. That's what I've heard other people say.
Over Damir Hajdovic. And then onto the main card. I like Paul Craig versus Volkan Oezdemir. I like that one by submission. Molly McCann over Hannah Goldy. Maybe take Molly McCann by finish on that one. Alexander Gustafsson is going to take another loss to Nikita Krylov. Watch for him to maybe leave his gloves in the octagon following that one. I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblet to get it done against Jordan Leavitt. Not going to lay any money on it. Very nervous about that. Think Jordan might have what it takes to beat Paddy. If Paddy does get by him, he's going to have to get really serious about his training camp, in order to stay at the top here. He's done the hardest part, getting a following. Now you got to back it up in the cage. Taking Chris Curtis on short notice over Jack Hermansson. Wants for Chris, the action man Curtis, to be a big star moving forward. And finally going with Tom Aspinall over Curtis Blaydes. Tom Aspinall, future heavyweight champion. Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, super pumped for the co-main and the main event this week. Those are really the two fights I'm looking forward to most. But, hey, man, you have a great trip out there in Aruba, you said, right?
Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take you. Yep, hell yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, you enjoy that. Thanks for being here as always. And, all of our friends and family and supporters out there watching us live, I just want to say thank you. Your support means a lot to us. So, again, please subscribe if you haven't, like the video, comment something down below. We love interacting with you guys live. That's one of my favorite things to do when we're out here is talking. You guys leave a comment, we'll respond to it. 9 times out of 10, we'll say something live back. So, if that's what you're into, like our friend in Fuego and Patrick, those guys are great at it. We got a comment. I'm going to respond to it right now before we go. Is there any lines out for the August 6th card? I'm high on Mayra Bueno Silva in her new division. Trust me. Interesting. So we got a new friend, Thomas Kane. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked to see if there's any lines just yet.
Let's see if I can pull it real quick. I would check, Thomas, I would check best fight odds, or I would check Tapology. Sometimes those sites are going to have something really early. But I don't know. You said August 6th? We're looking at Santos versus guy we were talking about earlier who got his arm snapped, John Mahal Hill. Mariam Bueno Silva over Stephanie Egger. I don't see any lines here. So interesting to see what that one will be. I wonder if Best Fight Odds has that. Maybe not, but check back. We'll surely talk about that fight once we get closer to August 6th. I'm not wishing away July just yet. Summertime. Enjoy it.
Me either, man. It's a great month. My birthday month. But so thank you all for being here. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Thanks, Tom. See ya.
All right. Take it easy, everybody.